So, I mean, it was, 30 years ago or so that the Congress hauled the heads of the tobacco companies, Reynolds and Philip Morris and Laura Lard, and humiliated them on camera. And you knew you were hurting people, you did it anyway.
That's right.
Is that going to happen with Nabisco anytime soon?
I mean, there are class action lawsuits that are being now raised around these companies to look at holding them accountable for what they're doing. And they know, and there's been FOIA requests and information requests that I actually wrote about in my book that show their nefarious behavior, for example, targeting minorities and targeting lower income people to focus on buying more junk food.
Well, the food stamp program is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, Tucker, when you think about it. When the American taxpayer is paying through the nose for everything all the way along, the companies are privatizing profits and we're socializing the costs. Always. So we basically fund the growth of commodity crops with $20 billion of subsidies in crop insurance for corn, wheat, and soy to the farmers, which puts them in a really tight bond because they can't change their system without support, changing to a more regenerative system that they're going to make more money, they're going to grow better food, they're going to have better resuscitation of their rural economies, and not hopefully commit suicide at the rate they're doing. We pay for that, and then we pay for those foods for our SNAP program. So we have about $125 billion in SNAP, which is our food stamp program. It's supplemental nutrition assistance, but there's no N in there. There's just food security, which means calories. So when you get your EBT benefits in the beginning of the month, these food companies know to advertise in the bodega. So they'll get your 2-liter bottle of Coke with your EBT, and they put these giant ads in there, and they know exactly when they're getting their cards. So we basically fund.
So you can buy Coca-Cola.
75% of the food bought on SNAP is junk food. 10% is soda. So you think about $12 billion on soda the Americans paying.
Why would soda be federal? Why would, if we're giving out nutritional assistance to the poor, why would we pay for soda?
What an obvious question, Tucker. Yeah.
But that's just crazy.
It's crazy. And we know
if you wanted to hurt the poor, you would do that.
I mean, we know beyond a doubt. And, we can talk about ultra-processed food. There's arguments this and that way and this way, but the food industry will say, we're going to take away people's choice. We're going to take away convenience. We're going to take away affordability. We're going to make food less safe if we don't know ultra-processed food. These are their talking points. It's all about calories. It's not moderation. So you can have, soda as part of your diet as long as you don't exceed your calories. It's basically your fault that you're fat, so you fix it. That's the messaging, right? It's the messaging from every food industry message from every professional association, message from the medical but that doesn't mean that we have to pay for it. Why are we paying for it? Well, that's it. So we pay for probably 30 billion or more servings of soda for the poor every year. And then we pay for
taxpayers are sending all this money to Coca-Cola.
The biggest profit center in America for Coca-Cola is 20% of their profits is SNAP, food stamps. Walmart gets, I don't know, something like, 40 billion of that food stamp bill. I mean, it's crazy. And we pay on the other.
Are those numbers real?
Yeah, I can get you the Walmart numbers, but yeah, it's really high. And then we have
that's shocking
to pay for Medicare and Medicaid on the back end when people get sick from those foods. And then we pay all the other costs.
So you pay for the Coca-Cola and the Ozempic.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the price we pay at the checkout.
Pop-Tarts and the insulin.
I mean, that's right. The price you pay at the checkout counter is not the true cost of food. The true cost of food, the Rockefeller Foundation report, is for every dollar you spend on food, there's $3 in collateral damage.
Yeah.
To health.
Pay for the crack and the rehab.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally nuts.
Pay for the hookers and the divorce.
We could fix this,
We could
fix this. And, Andy Harris, who's a congressman, wanted to do a simple pilot study. Just a pilot study to see what would happen if we eliminated soda from food stamp benefits in a couple of locations, just to monitor the impact on the health of those people. And he couldn't get it through as a pilot, not to change the entire USC policy, just as a pilot study. So imagine how anti-science this is. This is truly anti-science.
So it's just, I really believe in naming and shaming. It works.
Yeah.
Just call people out.
Yeah.
Bring some sunlight in and let them defend it.
Exactly.
So I'd love to know who's behind that. And by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't be allowed to buy Coca-Cola. I'm saying I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
That's fair, isn't it?
100%. I mean, the government of the United States should not be funding the chronic disease epidemic, which they currently are. They are either by policies that were put in, that were innocent, or by
But it's so perfect. It's like when I learned that we were funding ISIS in Syria, I was like, that's kind of perfect, actually. Like both sides are taking American money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But we have the opportunity to change that. For example, WIC, which is Women, Infants, and Children's Food Program, is based on only allowing people to buy food that's going to be healthy for the mother and child. Why not apply that to WIC? Why not school standards being changed so that actually kids can have healthy food?
Well, I know that I think WIC is like the center of profit for the formula makers, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's true. That's another problem. But yeah, for example, in Chile, they outlawed formula marketing for kids. They outlawed advertising to kids. They got rid of all the junk food in schools. They put it front and package labeling.
Why would the federal taxpayers, me included, you included, be paying for baby formula? Why would we be encouraging formula over breast milk?
Well, it's a huge industry. I mean, there's a group from the WHO has put together some initial papers and is coming out with a report next year about the commercial determinants of health, which is how multinational and transnational corporations in food and ag and alcohol, tobacco are essentially driving our chronic disease epidemic, and they're privatizing the profits, subverting public health, and socializing the costs. And the governments are the ones who are struggling with this. And so there are many other countries.
But the governments are paying for it.
Their governments are paying for it. And you look at the healthiest countries, they're the ones like Japan and Singapore and Spain and Italy. They actually have policies that are protecting their citizens, that are educating them about food, that are not allowing the same.
Or how about just don't pay for it? I mean, we could start there.
Now, we've told you before about a staff favorite here at TCN, the 8 Sleep Pod. What is it? It's a high-tech mattress that we talk about over lunch here, our mattresses, because this one is excellent. It's high-tech. It's a cover. It goes right over your existing bed. Well, this Christmas, you can get it for the best price of the year, up to $600 off. The 8 Sleep Pod works by adjusting the temperature, warmer or cooler, depending on your preference, and it maintains an ideal sleeping network all night long. Now, you might not know this, but through different phases of sleep, every night your body's needs change. Sometimes you want it warmer, sometimes colder. That's why you throw the sheets off. That's why you pull them around you at other parts of the night. You don't have to do that anymore with 8 Sleep because it automatically keeps things exactly where you want them throughout your entire night's sleep, what's called the sleep cycle. And it's been studied. It's clinically proven to increase quality sleep time every night. That improves your recovery time from physical exertion, makes you a little sharper, makes your health better. It learns and adapts to your sleep patterns over time, and it automatically adjusts temperatures throughout the night through each phase of your sleep. And it does this independently for up to 2 people in a bed. So each person can have a tailor-made sleep. It really helps. People here absolutely love it. 8 Sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/Tucker. Use the promo code Tucker to get up to $600 off the Pod 4 Ultra. You can try it with no obligation for 30 days. If you don't like it, just send it back. That's 8sleep.com/Tucker. Better sleep, truly.
The food industry and the ag industry have deliberately set up a series of actions and strategies across all sectors of society to take over the narrative. One, they fund most of the research. So there's 12 times as much research, quote, on nutrition from food industry. In other words, the American Beverage Association does a study on artificial sweeteners. They find they're fine, and they do a study on soda. They find it doesn't cause obesity, right? That's kind of garbage science. And there's 8 to 50 times more likely to show a benefit for their product if they're funding it. So they take over the research infrastructure. They take over the professional associations. The American Heart Association receives $192 million a year from pharma and food. American Diabetes Association, Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, all the major professional associations, which we think are independent, giving us independent advice, are funded and co-opted by these. And I mean, it's astounding.
What about the autism groups? Because I always wondered, there's been this massive increase in autism. I don't know what's causing it. It's not genetic.
No.
That's not true. It's not because we broadened the classification of autism.
No,
That's
it's not better just data detection. It's 1,000%. I mean,
right. So, and it's a life-ending crisis.
It went from 1 in 2,500 to 1 in 26 kids, 1 in 39 kids.
Of course, we all know people who have autistic children, and it's really a tragedy. So there are all these autism groups, and they're incredibly pompous and self-righteous.
Yeah.
But all of them have sort of shot down the idea that we should ask any questions about where this comes from.
Well, not all of them. There's some are asking.
The big ones have.
Yeah, of course.
I know someone who worked on one. I was like, what's causing this? Shut up!
That's right.
It's like you work at an autism group. Right. Why aren't you interested?
Exactly. I mean,
who's funding them? Do you know? We should take a close look.
I don't know, but there's autism groups, and then they fund not only professional associations, not only they fund nutrition research, but they obviously also create these front groups like the American Council on Science and Health and Crop Life and all these nice sounding things.
American Council on Science and Health sounds very legitimate.
It sounds legitimate. And you look at these guys, half these guys were in jail.
Are you against science and health?
No, but one of these guys was like in jail for Medicare fraud for $8 million. You look at these guys, are criminals.
Well, he knows a lot about science and health.
Yeah, exactly. And then
serious?
I'm serious. So they fund social groups. So get this, Tucker. They fund like the NAACP and the Hispanic Federation.
Oh, I'm aware of this.
And I was
so Al Sharpton. That's where he got his suits taken.
That's right. And I was with Bernice King at the in Washington, in Atlanta. And
nice woman. Yeah.
We were going to show the movie Fed Up, which was about childhood obesity and how our sugar industry was causing this and our food industry was causing this. And she said, nonviolence is just not nonviolence to others, but it's nonviolence to yourself. And I think this is important. And I want to show this film in the King Center. So I said, great. And so a few days later, she called me back and said, Mark, can't do it. I said, why? Coca-Cola funds the King Center.
Oh. And obesity is not a problem in the Black community.
You know, if you look at
evil,
African Americans in the 60s, they were healthier than white Americans. If you look at that movie Amazing Grace with Aretha Franklin,
I know.
It's a great movie. She was thin, and every black person in that congregation in Oakland in 1970 was thin. And now 85% of African American women are overweight.
It was LA, I think, not Oakland.
Really? Was it LA? Okay.
Where she recorded the gospel album?
I think it was the Amazing Grace. I don't remember. It was a great documentary.
Oh, it's the most incredible album too.
So they fund social groups to help oppose things that they don't want, like soda taxes, or they fund like the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which is one of the premier children's hospitals in the world. CHOP was going to actually come out in favor of a soda tax, but Coca-Cola gave them $10 million, and they pulled back. This is the kind of stuff they do. So they have they fund science. They co-op professional associations. They fund the social groups. They create front groups, and they are huge lobbyists. And so they're very deliberate in how they do this. In fact, it was illegal. They got a huge lawsuit against them from Secretary of the Attorney General of Washington State because they colluded. A lot of the food industry groups colluded to fight against GMO labeling, which they wanted to do in Washington. Now, America and Syria are the only countries that don't allow GMO labeling. It's a pretty good company.
Syria's got bigger problems.
China and Russia, are transparent about this, and they're not known for their transparency.
They're not allowed in Russia.
Right.
Yeah.
And so basically they funded this campaign for a ballot initiative to defeat the GMO labeling. And they won, but they did it illegally, and they spent huge amounts of money doing it. And they were then fined and had the biggest fine ever, which was trivial for them. It was like, I don't know, $18 million or something that they had to pay, but it was trivial. But they got a big slap on the wrist for doing this, but they won. Same thing in California when Jerry Brown was governor, and he's Governor Moonbeam. I mean, he's as left as you can get. And there were soda taxes being passed all around California, and the soda industry got together, the American Beverage Association. They said, we're going to create a ballot measure that's going to require 2/3 majority for every vote in any state or local government for anything. It would basically paralyze the government of California if they pass this ballot measure. And they were funding it with millions of dollars, had nothing to do with food. They said, look, Jerry, we're going to pull this ballot measure, but you've got to put in a permanent ban on soda tax in California. And he did. That's what's going on behind the scenes. That's how this works.
There's a permanent ban on soda taxes?
In California.
There's no permanent ban on any other kind of taxes. So that's also what bothers me is I do think there should be one standard for everyone in every category because we're all American citizens.
Right.
So nobody should be exempt from taxes.
No.
Very much including college endowments. And nobody should be exempt from lawsuits unless all of us are. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.